the conversation that's going on is the gaming industry too focused on remakes and remasters? I think this was largely sparked by The Last of Us Part 1 being announced.
Yeah.
So since then, everyone's saying, look, the gaming industry is just too focused on releasing old games, whether it be a remake or remaster or whatever. So I wanted to see exactly how focused the gaming industry was on these things. And what I decided to do was take every game that released in the past year and looked at every game that released physically in the United States. And I divided them into 3 categories. The new IPs, the sequel, prequel, spin-off, and then the remake, remaster, re-release.
10-4.
In the past year in the United States, according to my data, there have been 375 unique physically released games, which is a lot of games. I did not expect it to be that many games.
That blew my mind. You could play a game a day and not be able to play them all in a year.
It's crazy. Out of those 375 games that had physical releases in the US, 167 of them were new IPs by my count. That's 44%. So almost half of all the games that had physical releases in the past year were new IPs.
Yep.
So not even half of all new releases are new IPs. Interestingly, I think this was the most interesting. Sequels, prequels, and spin-offs account for 126 of those games. That's 34% are sequels, prequels, or spin-offs. That number is way bigger than I thought it would be.
I don't think it is, because I mean, think about it's hard to always just strike gold with a new IP.
Right.
Like Mario, for instance. How often does something like that come around? They've been making sequels, prequels, and spin-offs.
Well, and that was
Mario for a million years.
But
then Nintendo is almost entirely.
Oh yeah, I mean a lot of
sequels, prequels, and spin-offs.
And here's the thing: these numbers are really skewed because a lot of those new IPs, and I mean a lot of them, are indie releases. I would say at least half of those new IPs are all indie releases that you have never heard of.
Yeah.
But then the real number, the remakes, remasters, and re-releases. Out of the 375, 82 of them were remakes, remasters, and re-releases. That's 22%. 82.
Did you think that was going to be higher or lower?
I expected it to be higher because I've heard so many people say, that's all I've been hearing.
Because that's the narrative.
That's the narrative. It's like the industry is so focused on remakes and remasters, but it wasn't. It was the smallest percentage, 82 or 22%. But even then, I do think that if 22% of all remakes or all games that are releasing are remakes or remasters, that's a lot.
That's over 1 out of every 5 games.
It may be not as overblown as people make it out to be, but that's still a lot.
That is a lot. There were so many great games and new IPs coming out when we were younger. Is it them just trying to cash in on nostalgia? Is it they know they have great games, but they know now they can make them better?
No, I don't think so. I think what it is, in my mind, it's this. It's that a new IP is risky.
Yes, it is.
Because it's really hard to get people super hyped for a new IP. You see it occasionally, like Elden Ring.
Yeah.
But it has to be from a storied developer that you trust.
That's almost a spinoff. I mean, it's not.
It's not. But like Starfield. It's Starfield, Elden Ring. These are you're trusting the developer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It has to be like that. That's about the only way to get super hyped for a new IP. Whereas sequels and remakes and remasters, like the other 2 categories, are way more likely to be revenue makers, and that's why they account for over half of all games. When you add those numbers together, over half of all new physical releases are from the past year have been sequels or remakes. I think they're just way less risky.
Yeah, I mean, they know, if they release, I don't know, a remake of a Resident Evil game, they know all those old Resident Evil fans are going to buy it. So
right.
Same thing with Final Fantasy.
Yeah, they know.
Same thing with The Last of Us.
And it's very easy to get people super hyped for a sequel or a remake because they know what to expect, and they know they have an expectation that it's going to be good.
Right.
And so they're able to get hyped about it.
Horizon Forbidden West.
Right.
God of War, all that.
Yeah. Whereas if it's something completely new, you might be like, it looks really cool, but we won't know until we get it. I want you guys to tell us, what do you think? What do you think? Is the industry too focused on remakes and remasters? You have the numbers now. Finally, we don't have to just say it feels like it. Now you know exactly what is being released.
And if you really feel that way, then say that with your money and buy the new IPs.
Yeah, absolutely. It just shows that this is what people are buying,
Yeah,
they're buying sequels and remakes and remasters.
Yeah.